to? Decimo. I'm trying to think of the other places. And then where's my favorite one that had the best effing fish and chips, motherfucking fish and chips? The plow in London, my friends.
The plow
is where you get the fish and chips. And it's right next to the British Museum that beautifully displays all the shit those motherfuckers stole throughout most of the world.
You sure this wasn't? You sure this is not terminology for what you do after the clubs?
The plow? Yeah,
the
that's
plow.
that's Ricardo's signature sex move. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the plow.
No, man. I'm 47. Mine is the peace out, bitch.
Yours is the dead fish. The
they go to bed so I can make the gym the next day.
Yeah.
I mean, this weekend was a little different because we were out in the middle of the mountains by Jacumba, up on a 15-acre lot full of oak trees and groves, and so we were camping for like 5 days. So I definitely disrupted my sleep patterns a little bit, but got a lot of exercise though, man.
What type of exercise? I don't want to ask. I don't want to.
Dude, hiking around that motherfucker, dude. I'm telling you, because there's like one main property at the top of the hill. And so, like, going back and forth, like, throughout the day, I mean, we had to set up the whole stage. We built a stage. We had a professional sound and audio out there. We had a team that came out there and stayed in a tent and just handled the sound. Then we had to, like, bring down, like, we had a pool that we set up, so we could do, like, a cold plunge. We had food truck come down on the weekend days so that, people could refuel. And then we had about 40 artists that came in from everywhere that were staying in like this one section. So we had to guide them as they came in throughout the weekend and stage manage everything. And then I recorded everything, all the audio. So we were trying to it was basically like from 11 to 3 a.m. for 3 days in a row. It was pretty cool.
11
Oh, nice.
a.m.?
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah,
11 a.m.?
11 a.m.
Damn, I would have died.
I would so the cool thing was it was like nearby there was like a couple these really cool little gas stations, and it was like maybe a quarter mile you could probably walk there, and so I could pull right out of the grove and I forgot coffee. I don't know, nobody brought fucking coffee out of all 100 people fucking camping, nobody brought coffee, and so I would go and get a hot cup of coffee from this place every morning. And then like some Pop-Tarts and shit, or like a breakfast sandwich or whatever. And so I did really poorly on food, but it was good that we had stuff really close by. So
nice. Sounds like it was a good time.
It's called the Booking Office 1869. I finally found it. A place at the bottom of St. Pancras.
47 minutes later.
And it took me a while. They think of things. I was thinking 1900s, and they're in the 1800s. We're just different worlds.
You sure that's not
worlds.
when? Are you sure? Are you sure that town? Like, it's not when that town
London?
was.
You mean
London? Oh no! I thought this was the bar that you were talking about.
No, the bar in London at the St. Pancras Hotel. It's called the Booking Office of 1869.
Jesus, the Lord has returned, and He is angry. Hey, Chris.
How was that?
Chris, when we were in London, did we go to? Did we ever visit the city of London? That separate part that's like the city of London, where it's like the financial district or whatever. Did we ever go through?
Yeah, we went, took pictures of the egg.
That's all right. Cool. That was it. All right. Perfect. Yeah.
That's the financial district. And there's that like really, it's like weird. There's like a church.
Yeah.
It's like really small in between like several industrial buildings.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, when you went to London, did you visit the safe zones where the migrants were, or did you because I heard you're huge into humanitarian care, and I know you wanted to go save a couple of them. Did you do that? I know you've been talking about it for a while.
I'm so confused.
Never mind, bad joke. Anyways, what were we saying?
We had a good time.
I'm not sure how human trafficking got brought into this conversation, but Mike, I mean, if you got to tell us something about some of your desires.
What do you want to know? Are you trying to say that I'm a Nazi? Were you trying
did you need help? Did you
try
to go?
The joke was going along the line, the migrant problem, to see if you.
Well, Ricardo was the migrant. I mean, I was helping him out the whole time.
Totally. He fulfilled his pledge. They checked us and they were like, "Oh yeah, he's definitely Spanish, and that guy's definitely gringo. Oh, and he's definitely helping that motherfucker. Okay, cool." And they let him off the hook. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, we got to eat wherever we wanted to. It was dope. Yeah.
We did have a good time. It was also I was also
no, but
really
we didn't
lucky.
go. We didn't go into two buildings, which it's probably my fault. One, I think because Big Ben was being worked on, and I really wanted to go in that motherfucker.
Well, it was COVID still.
Oh, that's right. And then what's the church? The one that everyone said the one that we should have gone in.
We did not go into St. Paul's.
That's the one. Yeah.
St. Paul's Cathedral. Again, though, it was COVID, so like we got to go to
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of
kinda hard.
places, but there's a lot of places that we like couldn't go. So
They're like, all right, everyone walk around. 8 million of you outside, but like 5 of you can't come in here.
remember, we had to go get you a COVID test before you could fly out.
Oh, yeah, that chick that had the administrative test was healthy.
Dude,
We had to go. We had to
how
go
fucking
find
nuts was that?
Ricardo a COVID test
$180 because I forgot. Yeah,
because Saudi had ended that by the time we went, so I didn't need a COVID test to re-enter the country, but America hadn't, and so Ricardo needed a COVID test to go back.
How fucking ridiculous
weird,
was
man.
that? You remember getting on a flight? You were like, getting on a flight, you had to sign something like if you got to Florida. I remember driving down to Florida. They had like checkpoints like at the border where it's like pull in to the side rest station. Yeah, I was just like, fucking
Mike,
crazy. You have to quarantine.
I got to
for
say
2
that,
weeks.
like, I really like. I remember when this first hit. Mike and I were friends, and I was working, at a corporation. I was like, "Yo, man," I was like, "What do you think about this?" He's like, "Yo, I think that Bowflex stock is gonna go up real high." No, but other than that, he was like, "No, don't take the jab or whatever." And so, like, I had to take it to go to work, but like,
I would take it. I had to
Never
take
took
3
it.
of them.
Never took it.
I kind
Never
of
took
admire
it.
that.
I was prepared to go down. I was prepared. I actually, for my law firm, I was in the city. I transferred out of the city's office, so I wasn't forced to take it. The one thing I will say is my old law firm, I got to give them credit. They gave you the option to work from home, but they didn't force you to take, any vaccine. And the funny thing was, once New York City was like, you got to take the vaccine, even for your employer, I was like, nope, I don't live in the city. I transferred to one of our offices outside. I was like, I'm not taking that shit. I don't give a fuck what you say. To this day, I didn't take it. I don't plan on taking it. And look at all the impacts from the people, like all these health problems from it.
Yeah, we had our annual training for the Marine Corps, and so like they said, you had to get it to go, and like you have to go. So I got the first shot exactly 15 days before we left, so that I got the boost, the second shot the day before we left. And so when I got there, I did not realize, like almost to the 14th, on the 14th day, I like the brain fog finally lifted. Like I was like in some fog the whole time. I had no idea.
Dude,
It was weird. Like all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, my brain's working again. What happened? But then Saudi had to get the first booster to get my visa in Saudi. So
Look, I don't fault for people doing, like, if you have to take it or whatever. It was just my personal belief.
Just gonna die young. It's fine.
Comfortable taking it.
it's cool.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
stop
Like,
it.
I'm
What
very
is that?
spiritual, so I'm cool with like checking out as long as I get to do the cool shit that I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely, I think, how do I say this? Like, and I think there's a lot of people that are lucky, right? And like, and I would love to consider myself lucky because nothing, I didn't feel anything crazy or anything like that. I also have been around people with COVID and was not able to get it from them. So I think that, there's definitely a specific demographic and there's multiple segments in that demographic, of susceptibility. Right. And so for like a lot of people, I think it's really bad, and I think it's really not a joke. And I think for a lot of people, it's like a cold if you even get it. Right. But, what's scary is that just by, selecting some 5 or 6 different health factors, that most of which are preventable health factors that are behaviorally associated, like getting outside and getting some sun, going on a walk, exercising, you know what I mean? These types of little things, I think, that can just make you move from one of those groups into the less susceptible sector of it. And I think that because I do all those things, maybe not as consistently as, the chief over there would like, but but I do them. We all do them, and so like I have to say like, oh cool, man, like I'm glad that I have the but I was cold plunging, man. I was taking crazy shit. I was taking bromelain, and I was like and I was smoking tons of weed, and like I was making out with girls that had COVID and not getting COVID, and so
Dude, you remember? You remember when there was the outbreak when we were at that brewery in Encinitas, and me and Ricardo were just sitting at a brewery. It's like
Oh
halfway
yeah.
empty, and we're just drinking. We're getting fucking annihilated in San Diego when like the first couple of like cases they were reporting on. It wasn't like you were um, work out. It wasn't like
The fact
anything
that he has
big, but me
pink
and Ricardo
cards should tell you something about him.
the fact that he has, those cards that I haven't used since elementary school, I'm a little concerned. Index cards. But yeah, you remember that, Ricardo? We were at the bar, like, of the brewery, just drinking when, like, all of a sudden it, like, started, like, the whole outbreak started.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. And so like, don't be a bitch.
Your handwriting
It's
is
so bad.
so bad.
And so,
Your
like, let me tell you,
handwriting is
like,
so
how I
bad. Just
remember
stop.
COVID starting. Ready? I was like, man, this is some bullshit. It's probably orchestrated. Let me. And I was in first. I was like in for like a good like month. I was kind of wasn't paying attention because I was in thought. I was like, okay, why would someone orchestrate this? And so I was like in just deep meditation every day of like, what if I was like, a billionaire? What would I do? And Mike had a totally different reaction, right? So Mike would basically was like, "Hey man, I'll see you tomorrow." And the next day he was like, "Hey, I'm out of here." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I'm getting the fuck out of here." And he was like, "I packed my shit.
I was,
You can have my
I knew,
TV and my
I,
brother's PlayStation." And he's like, "I'm getting the
I
fuck out of here."
literally, no joke, no joke. Like when the first like cases started happening in San Diego, I went out to like Costco. And this was before the whole outbreak, everything. I went to Costco. I bought like $1,000 worth of
Toilet paper.
waters, food, toilet paper. I had all this shit in my apartment. All of a sudden, the outbreak starts, and I'm talking to my mom on my phone. She's like, "I don't want you staying in California." She was like, "I think you should come back to New York." I was like, all right, if that's what you think. She was like, I'm gonna put you on a plane tonight. Come back.
It was
She
like
bought me
that,
a
dude.
first class ticket for like $120. I got on the plane. No joke, Chris. I got on the plane. There were like four people on the plane. It was like really like World War Z type shit. I get into New York. The next part is I get into New York thinking I can take an Uber. Ubers weren't allowed at the airport. Thank God I found a black cab that doesn't operate. I gave him like $300 to drive me from the airport to my house, and they shut down all like planes. You couldn't fly out of San Diego, fly in, nothing. It was the craziest thing. And then I called Ricardo up and I was like, "Yeah, you could take my PlayStation, you could take my TV. I think I got like 14 cases of water in my apartment right now. I got like 18 cases of hot dogs
Dude,
and
I
chicken."
have 24 boxes of green tea and 9,000 nasal strips that were both in one box.
Dude, I think I gave you. I bought like, no
Breathe
joke. I
right
think I
and tea. I mean,
bought.
I thought it was like a girl left it, but then I was like, this is Mike's.
No, I bought the emergencies too.
Oh,
I bought the emergencies too. I bought like 6 packs of like the 50 emergencies in them. Damn. I
I was
I got
out
you.
at Aero Club
oh
like
damn.
a couple nights before the shutdown, and the place was packed. We were
Yeah.
just like drinking, having a great time. I was pissed because like a week later, I tried to buy gym equipment and I couldn't. There was nothing available, and I was so mad.
I had I had the Bowflex. Dude, the best was when they closed everything down in New York. Like I was like, I'm going to Florida, like because you hear about Florida, everything was open. I go down to Florida, dude. It was like nothing happened in Florida. Everything was open. Everybody was out partying. Everyone was having a blast. I was in Del Rey on Atlantic Avenue, and I was just going out to the bars. Everything was fine. Everybody was partying. Nobody
Yeah.
cared about it
Yeah, I went to
at
Texas a
all.
couple times. I went to Dallas a few times, and it was like that. Nobody gave a shit, and I mean, we were out all the time. I was there for like the ice apocalypse or whatever in like 2020
Hmm.
when like there was like that massive like 30 car pile up on the freeway because of the ice and the airport shut down and the power went out in
Yep.
Dallas. Yeah, I was,
Yeah.
but yeah, nobody gave a shit out there.
The best was, I just gotta say this before we start. The best was
Before
I
we
was playing
start.
golf in Florida, and you couldn't touch the hole. They had the little thing on the hole. You couldn't touch the hole, but you could go
So,
out to
are
the
we talking about
bars and
golf or
get
the red
fucking
light district in
annihilated.
Amsterdam?
Mike,
No, no, we're talking about golf.
I feel like this is not the first time you've been complaining about not being able to touch the hole.
I know, I know. It's
Well, on
been
the
a
golf
while
course,
since
there's
I
too
talked
much
to
grass
Chris's
around the hole,
mom.
so Mike doesn't want anything to do with it.
Oh yeah,
Mm,
if there's grass, if there's grass around that hole, goodbye,
I don't disagree.
goodbye.
I think grass is a metaphor for child trafficking.
Oh, we're full
Oh my
circle. We're
God,
literally
that's
we're
horrible.
literally in
Oh
figuratively
my,
full circle.
Now we're back. Yeah.
oh
You guys
my
want to talk
God.
about the topics?
Sure, yeah, let's do this.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
come
Let's
on.
do this. All right. So,
Hey,
guys,
welcome back, everybody.
episode 36, first episode of season 2. Welcome back, everybody. We had a little summer break, like the teachers do. And then, we had some meetings, did some fun stuff. And so now we're back. Got some pretty cool things coming up this season that I think you guys are going to enjoy. A couple of spin-offs and cool little interviews, like one-on-one, so that you guys have a little bit more content to play with, regardless of just our long form that we do here once a week live, which I think we're going to continue to still do. As usual, the same crew. I got Elvis in Indianapolis over there and Mike in New York City. Myself, I am in San Diego, not South Beach. I forgot to change that from the last time. And we are Almost Patriots, the podcast, guys. So our first topic, in the news, this was, I think, kind of spans the time that we had off, was Iran, which was something that was really big. Let's see, for a little while. I don't know if that's in the news very much anymore, guys. What's your take on this? Or what?
It's still in the news. It's just lately it's just been really quiet. I think both of the wars that are going on right now have been really quiet lately. Um, right now I think in Iran, isn't there an issue right now with getting food or supplies into like the country or something? There's a lot of people starving. Um,
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, I think there's like a push now to get food and supplies into the country as there's been like a blockade. Um, this war continues to go on. I don't know. I'm tossed up on this
Well, then what your topic is about
because
this, right? I mean,
yeah, when we get a little bit further down. Well, my topic is more so about leaks,
Gotcha.
intel leaks. Uh, uh, but yeah, this whole thing with Iran supposedly was going to be, there was going to be a peace treaty within 90 days. Never happened. They had a ceasefire, if you remember, and Trump decided to go on air and have some explicits when he was talking about both countries. I, I don't know. Do you guys think this is ever going to stop? I think if we do stop it now, it's going to start up again in another 3 or 4 years. It's just a constant pattern that's going on. And I don't know how I feel anymore. It's like, okay, what's going to happen long term? This just feels like it's going to be a constant conflict every several years. And it's going to be going around my entire life.
I agree with you.
well,
Go
I
ahead.
think as long as we're allied with Israel, this is always going to be a problem. Not that I'm saying we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because Israel is the only essentially non-Muslim powerhouse in the region, and
Hmm.
all the Muslim communities basically want to get rid of Israel. And so as long
Well,
as we're allied with Israel, we're kind of stuck. And again, I'm not saying we shouldn't be. I'm just saying that until the Muslim world and the Israeli world can sort of come to peace, we're always going to be sort of stuck in this back and forth. And then Iran wants to, come to the table. I mean, we could always go down the conspiracy theory hole, and as long as Iran doesn't have a world bank, this is always going to be a problem.
yeah. Well, the problem is, I think isn't the problem in Iran right now is their nuclear capabilities. It's building their nuclear programs. So the bigger issue there is if they ever get nuclear powers, that's not just a U.S. problem. Excuse me, that's not just the Israel problem. That's a U.S. problem. So like I'm definitely in agreement to some portion of that, but there's got to be a better way of going about what we're doing right now because it just seems like every 3 to 4 years there's a new conflict, there's a new issue, we get dragged back in. But I don't know. I don't have the solution. All I know is just keep buying nuclear supplies and nuclear energy, so my stocks keep going up at this moment. But yeah, it's just been a kind of a crazy couple of months now with this whole situation going on.
Well, they're not. so they've devolved, right? So in the 1950s and 60s, Iran was like the West. They were much more westernized, and then they went back to Sharia law sometime in the 60s and 70s, and so they've actually sort of
Change everything.
they've gone backwards, but then but they also want to maintain their power in the world, and so obviously nuclear is part of that, right? It's very difficult to like come up to the table and put your big boy pants on if you don't have nuclear power, essentially, right? So, but nobody thinks that they have the ability to wield it with maturity, and so nobody wants it to happen. Obviously, I want to say it was under the Obama administration. They were like, yeah, do your thing as long as we, get access to it and get to see what you guys are doing with it. And so, of course, they have essentially not met their side of the bargain, and so that's part of the problem too. Is that they're not allowing our inspectors to see everything, and they're not, complying with the rules that we've set forth, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I go back and forth in this too. I mean, my thing is like it's kind of like the same sort of problem we have with the parenting, where it's like you have to let your children sort of, you obviously prepare them and try to prevent them from hurting themselves as much as possible, but ultimately you have no control over whether or not they get hit by a car or not. And so a lot of the actions that we take as parents are to, prevent our own anxiety from, our children being killed or whatever it is, right? And I feel the same problem. Like we think that we have some right to determine Iran's future and nuclear, right? And so it's like, dude, let it go, man. Like if they want to fuck around and find out, then let's. I mean, we don't need a lot to like fuck over Iran, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but if you fuck around and find out and you take out Israel, that's a problem.
Is that an us problem, bro?
None of that. None of that's gonna happen. This is all like still. You know how like people are like, okay, we haven't even finished feeling the negative effects of COVID, and it's been like 3 years, right? And so like what we're experiencing right now is the execution of all the deals that Trump cut before he got elected so that he could get elected. And then now that he's in power, he's got to commit to all these things. I think one of them was that he promised Netanyahu that he can continue Gaza for a little bit and that he would bomb Iran and and so I think there's a bunch of stuff that's going on, and I think all of it has been predetermined. I think he planned it. I think none of the new cool stuff is happening. I think what this guy's working on in the background is this huge digital system, the huge digitization of everything. He just started, including Google, Amazon, all these huge data giants in the new digital healthcare system, and he's spending hundreds of billions of dollars to build an AI Stargate Center in Texas.
Palantir.
Right, and so like I think the behind the scenes stuff is that. I think the real race is this AI race, and I don't think it has anything to do with. You want to know what I really believe is that I think this whole thing of, hey man, we're trying to reach AGI, right? I think that's like a decoy. I don't think there's ever going to be AGI. I think there's going to be like robots that are really fucking smart or whatever, like in the Alien movie, but it's not going to be like, making decisions and shit and like blowing people up and like wiping us out. What I think that is a distraction. And what they really want to do, right, is take robots and automate everything, right? And so they're putting in their agenda of automation and excluding workers and all that stuff behind the scenes. Meanwhile, they're driving the investment with this little toy that says, hey guys, we're going to create life. Look, we're almost there. It's almost conscious. The other day it flicked me off. Give us $100 billion. Right? And so in the background, what they're doing is like, hey man, in about 10 years, we're not going to need all these people anymore. And it's going to be something like that. Right? So I think it's a little more insidious than that. That's my point of view from what has kind of been going on with what Trump's been doing with these wars. Even these wars are just another distraction while he's laying down some of this groundwork for stuff, and nuclear is a big part of that.
Yeah,
it's down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, down the rabbit hole, man. You got to know everything, all the fun stuff. Nuclear, man. What do you think?
Oh man, that's.
Well, we just talked about that.
We've all doubled down, I think, on that a little bit.
All right, nuclear is awesome, guys. We love it. Buy some nuclear stocks. Next topic is. All right, creatine may reduce ADHD symptoms. This one is one of mine, right? And so This is sort of like a personal experience one. It's in the news lately. There was I haven't finished it yet, but the Diary of a CEO homie did an interview with a scientist who was doing a lot of experiments, and you should check it out and watch it, about creatine and dementia and a lot of stuff. And so for me, this is something that I kind of stumbled upon literally when I asked my buddy Chris over here how I can be huge like a monkey like him, and he said, "Hey, you want to take some creatine?" And so like just like that's how he said it.
Is that
And
he
just
said
say it
exactly
again,
like that, yeah.
exactly like that with the side of his mouth, right? And then so I started taking it, and I'm somebody who was diagnosed with ADHD, and I took Adderall for about a decade, and then I got off. And so I kind of know what both sides of the story are, at least from the stimulant standpoint, right? And so what I noticed right away was I had a lot more mental clarity, and that was allowing me to formulate my words much quicker, and that I was just more with it and more present. And then I did a little bit of research, and I stumbled upon a article which said that they had tested creatine in people who had been sleep deprived. And so they had taken a study of people, and they had, a control or whatever, blind control. And they didn't say soul deprived, Mike. They said sleep deprived. And so,
oh, you're a ginger too? You're short and a ginger?
Not a ginger.
And so
Not a ginger.
they took the control, and then after about I think 3 days was the first one, and then they did another one for 5 days. They gave both groups cognitive exams, right? And the ones that had creatine in their system every morning.
30 grams. They gave them 30 grams.
I think,
which is a lot. But yeah.
Sure. I mean, relatively speaking.
Hold on. I'll show you what 30 grams looks like.
He's cocaine.
That's not 30 grams of creatine.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
my creatine, my vitamins.
Fuck yeah, dude. Okay, and so perfect, right? And so I love that. Okay, so first of all, I think from there, the other study that I stumbled upon was one that was related to dementia, and then my dad is somebody who's kind of suffering from. He's 92. I think he's very mild, one of the mildest cases. He forgets small things here and there. He's still pretty lucid, so I don't think it's like a really big deal.
You need to take a goddamn driving test. That's
the guy should stop driving.
I hope he's not watching this podcast right now.
He's definitely not watching this podcast.
He's not watching.
Yeah, he won't. He doesn't want to be sued associated with it. And so, what was I going to say? And so I think dementia. So what I started to see with some of these tests. So some of the same effects that help the sleep depravity are also the same ones that help with preventing dementia. And I saw this article, the one that the topic is about the ADHD symptoms, and I can vouch for that. It's not super intense, but it's actually very gradual. So you got to take it for like 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're kind of like you really feel it. And what I read on this one for the ADHD, and what I've been taking, just personal, no advice, just what I'm doing, is I'm taking about 10 grams, right? 10 grams a day. And that's a good amount. Most people for muscle tissue take between 3 and 5, and 10 is right around 8 or 9 is where they started to see the cognitive improvements in mood and attention deficit disorder symptoms go down. And so I'm at about 10, and I'm telling you that I think it works really well. It's not Adderall. I mean, Adderall is a motherfucking drug. Adderall will make you, like, if you got something to do, like if you have some dream and you're like, hey man, I want to be like, whatever, like the best baker in town, like get yourself some fucking Adderall and take that shit for like a month, and then when you're done, everything that you would have needed to accomplish would have been accomplished in that month, and then just get off of it.
You also won't sleep very well for that whole month, but yeah.
I mean, you get all your shit done, but so that stuff is completely different. You feel high. It's a drug. I take drugs, and it's a drug. Yeah, you're high. I mean, I'm getting shit done, but I'm fucking high, and I don't want to be high all day. Yeah.
No, creatine's great. I mean, I've enjoyed. I took it for a little while when I was in my early 20s, but I took it like the way you take it, the way we were told to take it back then for workouts, where you front load. Like you do a bunch of, you take a ton of it for the first like few weeks, and then but you're not supposed to. But back then the assumption was like you shouldn't be taking it for more than like 60 days, because we're taking so much that's like not good, like for your liver to be taking like as much as you're supposed to, as they said to take. And then I stopped taking it for a long time, and then now I've been taking it again. It's been in my pre-workout for a long time, but I've actually started taking the gummies to take like 10 grams, like mostly like the last
they're expensive.
6 months, maybe 8 months, whatever. But yeah, I definitely noticed a difference too. The cognitive piece is definitely noticeable. My vocabulary seems to be there more regularly than when I'm not taking it, especially if I'm hungover. That's a whole different problem. But yeah, I've enjoyed it, and plus, obviously, the one thing that and this is what I told Ricardo when we were taking it, not for the cognitive benefits, but the thing that I liked about it the most was that there's a psychological effect when you're gaining muscle. So like if you take creatine, especially if you front load creatine and you start exercising, you blow up like a balloon. Like your body stores all that water, and so you look bigger, and so you immediately get sort of the psychological effects of the exercise, where like you see gains faster than you would normally see gains, and so that makes you want to keep working out. So that's what I think, like the other side effect.
Yeah, definitely notice the water retention.
Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know, Ricardo, for the article, but just some quick background. Kansas University is doing a study exactly like this in Alzheimer's patients, and their hope, what they're doing is they're doing blood work at 4 weeks and 8 weeks, along with several tests. And what they've come to the conclusion at like some part of the study is that creatine helps the brain produce and use more energy, which helps in return with memory and the thinking processes. I can tell you, I've been taking creatine for years now. I took it when I played college baseball. I took it before, afterwards. Chris, when you were talking about like putting the weight on, and you seeing those gains, it definitely has a psychological element to it. I can't say I do feel like a mental element to it by taking creatine.
Yeah, but you don't sleep ever. You sleep like 4 hours a night, so I'm sure it's like keeping you functional.
Very good point.
It's keeping you functional.
Like one of the, I think it's great. I think so. The other thing I've been doing in the morning that I discovered, and this is from this guy Gary Brecka, who was on Rogan like a couple of years ago, and he was the guy who was like a mortality guy. And so, like, he spent, like, 20 years, like, working for insurance companies and, like, like, handicapping based on mortality, based on habits and data. And so he, like, found all this shit. But long story short, magnesium is something that he said helps break down these things called catecholamines. And these catecholamines are the precursor to cortisol, which is a stressor. And so I started taking magnesium with my creatine in the morning, like, at a high dose, about 600 milligrams. And then I found that it was kind of synergistic. And so I did the research, and I found out that magnesium, it helps with muscle and nerve function. So that's kind of like a good one to take, especially if you're training. But it also creates this thing called chelate or chelate or something like that. And this actually makes the creatine increases the bioavailability of the creatine. So I'm doing a 400 or 600 milligram pill of magnesium in the morning. I literally put it in the creatine and water and just take that whole just mix, and that's been really good for me. So
why don't you just go all the way? Why don't you just take steroids? Why don't you just go all the way? Get
magnesium?
Magnesium.
Come on, magnesium.
Get some HGH. Get some HGH. Just mix it all in and just go all the way.
Yeah, so I take AG1 in the morning on an empty stomach, and then I take the Tunget, Ali, and Fedocia agrestis with a zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D supplement, and milk thistle for my liver.
That's right. All good. Those are really good. That zinc is going to
plus creatine, but yeah.
I take zinc every day. I take vitamin C.
Both you guys need vitamin D and zinc every day.
I take vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. I take creatine. I take BCAA. I take a couple other shit too. My liver's going to be fucked by the time I'm 40, 45.
Don't worry, your liver will regenerate. Those things are naturally occurring. So, the real threat to your liver, man, is nobody died from over mineraling. It's alcohol. You worried about your liver? Put the fucking drink down.
Yeah, I don't drink, so I'm good. According to Dr. Mori, I'm good.
I'm not you're welcome. I need a payment for that diagnosis. All
I'll
right,
send
cool,
it to
man.
you.
So
I'll
this is
Venmo you.
cool. I like all this stuff, man. I'm glad that we could share with our personal experiences on this because we all have experience on this as far as trying some of these things in a safe way. This is not advice in any way. These are just our own personal routines. So if you do your own research, go out there and see. And I will say that it's very personal. I think everyone's biochemistry is sort of different. So you're gonna have to try and experiment a little bit on what works best for you on some of these things. There's a really cool another article, and I'll get my topics out of the way here, so I'll shut up here for a second. And this article I saw because
No, you won't.
because of Chris.
Never
No, I
does
won't. Never. So because of Chris, and so Chris,
No.
check this, right. This is dumb, dude. Okay, so Chris has this not obsession, but he has this theory which I believe. Right, and I actually haven't researched it too much because I'm afraid I'll never come back and I'll be in a rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down.
Right, and so it's about blood type, and so he believes that there's this O positive blood type. Is that what it is?
Negative Rh negative blood types.
Right, it are blood types that what, like match with everybody or don't match with anybody, or what's the
So
can
Rh
you explain?
positive.
Explain.
So Rh positive, which is means that your blood has a marker for the rhesus monkey, a genetic marker for the rhesus monkey, makes up like 85% of the population, roughly. Don't quote me on the numbers, but it's like over 80% of the population. And so if you have an Rh negative blood type, like O negative, AB negative, B negative, whatever, then you do not have the rhesus monkey gene marker.
Didn't come from a monkey.
And so the theory is that it's a foreign genetic marker that was introduced in the population sometime way late into. So like, it's not something. There's all kinds of theories about it. It's alien or whatever. I think it's just a genetic mutation that happened at a certain point in our evolution.
Or there's
Chris,
people
let
who
me
are
ask you a
like,
question. Let me ask you a question, Chris. Chris, is this because of the COVID vaccinations from Johnson and Johnson and Moderna and all of them? Is this a reason? This is how?
No, that's something else.
I'm
That's
gonna explain.
CV negative. Yeah.
I'm gonna explain
No.
what happened. Aliens or gods or whatever you want to call them landed. There's a bunch of them, and they were chilling out, and they were like having, the non-rhesus monkey gene, and they were just having a party like cool. It was cool, and then all of a sudden, gods wake up one day, and all the women are woke, right? And so nobody's getting laid, and one of the guys stumbles into the forest, and he sees this rhesus monkey, and he says, "Damn, you're much more peaceful than my woman."
Okay, all right.
And then the other 85% of people
Anyway,
were
here we go. Anyway, Chris.
So the reason why, one of the reasons why it's important is because if your mother is Rh positive and her fetus is Rh negative, her body will try to kill the fetus.
Damn, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's like one of the problematic things with mothers who have Rh positive blood types, and they have sex obviously with a guy with Rh negative blood. So it's fast. I mean, it's a rabbit hole you can go down. The interesting thing about blood types is that it's not something that's studied by the medical field very much as far as like the nuances between the different blood types. So like as an example, they say, and this is obviously not proven out, but that if you have O negative blood type, then your pH levels in your stomach are different. And so you're much better at processing meat than you are processing carbs, because of the pH levels naturally. And obviously, if I said all of one blood type has a higher, that's a big thing, right? I mean, nobody's ever sat down and done the research, but that's just it's an example of how the rabbit hole goes really fucking deep. And if you want to go down and go for it, I'm fascinated because I think that there are opportunities in the fiction world, but that's a whole other conversation.
So yeah, and so there's this new artificial blood that matches to all blood types, and it was like a video, but like now YouTube doesn't want us to share shit, so we're just gonna have to talk about it. But it was really cool, and so it's very interesting. And I thought about what Chris had explained this previously to me in the past, and it was on my mind when I was watching this video. And it's really interesting to have or to be at a place where we figured out at least the differences the nuances, right? Like even like what Chris was explaining between blood types, in order to make a blood type that can be used by everybody, and that's going to solve a shitload of problems, especially if it's something that can be artificially created, which I don't remember whether it was or not. And if that's true, then fuck, man, that's amazing. Never need to transfer blood, no more of that, giving blood, all that shit. They're all just going to be able to sort of like stem cell blood you.
Well, O negative is universal donor, so like everybody's supposed to be able to take O negative blood types, and then O positive is universal recipient, so they should be able to take all blood types. But like, there are some very rare blood types, like AB negative. Brian's actually AB negative, by the way.
Who's Brian?
Mr. Jacobson. Brian's AB negative, which is the rarest blood type, which about 0.5% of the population has. They can only take AB negative and O negative. It's the only two blood types they can take. So they're at risk if they lose a lot of blood. But O negative is the one that everybody wants. But the problem is now you have vaccinated blood and non-vaccinated blood, which makes a whole nother wrinkle into this problem. So that'd be interesting. I'm curious if they just sort of found a way to break down O negative, because that's the. So I wonder if this thing mimics O negative blood. I'm curious.
I think so. I mean, like that might be an interesting.
I think you should probably go to medical school now, and you should probably figure this out. I think you should do it.
Add that to the list.
Add that to the list.
Add to the list. Oh. I thought about doing psychology.
You should go back to school.
Oh my God.
He already has a master's in what is it?
Bullshit.
Aviation.
Bullshit. I have a master in bullshit.
That was my degree. No, you got an extra. My degree.
No, his is better.
No, mine is actually a master's in business science. I mean, it's it's a bullshit degree.
Okay.
I mean, it's,
Gotcha. Yeah.
Ricardo had to put up with all my shit while I was doing that.
Yeah, but he did a good job though. You pulled through. All right, we got a couple political topics about like Democrats and SCOTUS.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But we could skip ahead.
Mine's not really political. It just has to do with
the new leadership one.
No, that's my topic. Yeah, I thought that was entertaining.
My topic is about leaks.
Excuse me? Oh, SCOTUS wouldn't transgender ban Tennessee for minors. This one.
Oh, I've removed that one. Yeah.
That's not mine.
Yeah, I got rid of that one.
Never mind. What is it, Mike, that you want to talk
about? Leaks. It had to do with the government. It has to do with top secret leaks from U.S. Intel's sources.
Leaks.
So I don't know how you guys feel about this. Even though this topic's a little bit older, it applies to a lot of the topics that are going on. Like, for example, there were the leaks that Trump was going to fire the Fed chair Powell. This particular one that I want to talk about, though, it pertains to the military actions, right? So if you guys remember, obviously we bombed the Iranian buildings, right? Not even not even an hour or two afterwards, somebody in the DIA basically leaked information that said that the Iran nuclear program could be back online in a matter of months. There was another one, CNN. There was another leak that they basically detailed the damage to the Iranian nuclear facilities and basically said, had discussions about what happened in the, war room. I think this is a problem because certain things I get, you can leak out there. Like if Trump's talking about potentially firing Powell, that's one thing. But then starting to leak the military conversations, military plans, things of that nature, that exposes the country at risk over the security of the country and our plans on what we're doing. I remember years ago when we were going to invade, after 9/11, and we basically, in the media, gave basically a game plan to the world on what we were doing, step by step by step by step. How are you effective if you're going to tell the world what you're going to do every step of the way? I think, when it comes to military, I think it's a different aspect. We shouldn't be leaking as much information, and we should make sure that if this information is leaked, we get down to the brass of who leaked it and get them the fuck out of the government, because it's a different story in different areas. But when it comes to the military and our security and strategy, that's a completely different ballgame.
I think Trump's been doing a really good job, though, of at least, there's some of this bullshit, for the guys that he hired to do those positions. I think it was more below him. But in general, when he talks to the media, he tries, to sort of evade and even distract from what he's really trying to do. But I think this could just be the fact that some of these guys just didn't know what the fuck they were doing and had to get their shit together.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just not. I'm sorry, Chris. I know you're gonna say something.
No,
It's not just. It's not. It's just not Trump's. Administration. It's happened in the past, and I think this is a bigger issue overall. Shut your mouth if you're in a position where our interests as a country, when it comes to security and military, is impacted. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, so I think the leak that you're probably thinking of that was the most problematic. I think was the Roe v. Wade overturning leak. Basically, they came out like a couple days before the Supreme Court made their decision that they were going to overturn Roe v. Wade, and they did it in hopes that they would influence the justices' opinion, so that they would like feel the pressure, a public pressure to like not make the same decision. Which I think is kind of bullshit. That really it kind of fucks up our judicial system. If you're trying to influence a judicial system because of public opinion, then we have a really broken system. But what I thought was really funny about this, so the Pentagon gets its intel on civilian assets, especially like nuclear assets, from the DIA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means that the targets that the bombers were flying to bomb were provided by the DIA. So basically what you're saying is that either you believe that the people flying those aircraft were incompetent and missed the target, or the targets were bad, which they got from the DIA.
So either way,
so you're basically leaking that you're either incompetent or that you think the bombers were incompetent.
exactly.
Well,
That's the leak. So it's like, what are you doing? You're just stupid. Like that shit blows my mind.
It's just I don't like the fact that certain things get leaked, like by in certain positions. I don't agree with leaks just in general. I don't. If it's governmental business in certain areas, you shouldn't be leaking. That's why you're in certain positions where your cell phones you can't bring into rooms, where you have blackout rooms, where you can't access your computers in certain rooms. You're in national security meetings.
Sure.
So you got the clearance. So there's things you shouldn't be doing. So things like this, like where you go to a journalist and CNN, we're like, hey, I got news for you. We didn't hit the targets, or they weren't good enough.
Yeah,
I just have a fundamental issue with that.
I mean, the media is going to do what it is. It is a monster, and it'll tear whatever it can apart for a reaction. But like one of the things I think that was eye opening to me when I was working for a defense contractor that was working on defense communications specifically, it was that what I learned is that there are separate networks and protocols for military and for private these private conversations. But the people that put the networks together are private contractors. And so that's one of the things I think might be different in the United States, right? So AT&T is still handling, the backbone or whatever. And our servers are on Amazon, or defense servers are on Amazon, and that's a private company. And I think in other countries like China, those are state-owned sort of functions. And so there's probably a lot less leakage. But because you're involving the private sector, and, the private sector is not, quality control on, people or information, I think that might be something to do with it. Maybe easier to intercept.
The consequences are worse in China. So I think that's probably what Mike is getting at.
Yeah, I think you're right too. That makes sense.
Is that there's been no consequences for these actions.
Yeah.
These are serious things that are being swept under the rug. An example. So when I worked at HMX, we I actually ended up not going on this trip, but we painted the planes green because the tops of the planes are white. So we painted the planes green with this sort of temp paint that we could spray off later. The whole time, everybody that was involved thought we were going to Pakistan. And then we loaded the planes on the C-17. I didn't end up going. Loaded planes C-17. When they got off the plane, they were in Afghanistan. So they didn't even tell everybody, the people that we already have a top secret clearance. They didn't even tell us that we were going to Afghanistan because Bush was going to Afghanistan for Thanksgiving that year.
Right.
And so they didn't even tell us until they got off the plane and found out they were in a different country, right?
Gotcha.
So those, I mean, and people that have a clearance, that's the whole purpose. I mean, you get read in, you get all this stuff, and so to me, like, if you break that trust, like, I mean, to me, you're out. Like
Yeah, you're
you
gone.
said in your
You're in jail.
notes, treason. I mean, 100%, it's treason.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, I mean, not hanged, but maybe. I mean,
Well, my issue is the element that you just bring up. This is leaks to the U.S. press. Now, what leaks are going out to other countries, espionage, they are there, and I hate to put it this way, you might not agree, you might be blind to it, but there's definitely some governmental individuals that give these things out that have been doing this. There was a fucking movie about the Russian CIA agent or CIA guy that was, what was it, 20 years? He was giving intel to Russia. Robert,
Oh
what was his
yeah,
name?
yeah. Snow
Yeah,
White.
yeah.
Yeah.
Snowden.
No,
Snow
no,
White.
That's
not
totally
Snowden.
different. That's totally different.
No, not Snowden and Snow White. Not either one of those.
Neither one
I
of those
just think,
bitches.
yeah, I just think it's a lot more serious than people think, and we just say it's okay. Like we read the article, like
Right,
in
but what like
CNN, well, it's okay.
what I mean, like I get your rant, like I get it, like cool man, like it's annoying that people are more loyal. I mean, like so, but like, what's the solution? Like, do you think we should
Well, there are
punish them?
laws that are
Yeah, I mean, like
specifically,
let's
and
like
they're
give me
just, we're
your
not enforcing
opinion.
them.
I mean,
Yeah.
like
My
if,
opinion.
yeah,
My
like
opinion
it's because that's a
is
slippery slope too. Especially right now with people being a little bit fearful of like this kind of fascist style, which is just not at all fascist. It's just people this is
yeah, it's
government
not, but
cleaning up stuff that should have. And so then if you start doing like think, oh, okay, well then in addition to that, if we find someone that leaks to the press, we're gonna like throw them in jail for 5 years. Then they're like, oh, look at this fascist government. See what they're doing? They're trying to silence the press.
I think we take it more serious. I think when things like this, depending on the circumstances of it, we take it more serious. We actually enforce the laws. If you're read in and you're one of those people in the room, okay, there's only a certain amount of people in that room. There's only a certain amount of people that have that information. You have an investigation, you see, and you find out who do it. Like, it's not that, I hate to say this, we live in a world now of nothing but data, and there is no privacy. They can find so much shit about you, and you don't even know about it, and you're telling me you don't know who's meeting who, what's going on here, how this
Well,
information came from.
the thing is though, Mike, and like to just what do you call it? Not steel man, but the other man, straw man.
Devil advocate.
Yeah, whatever it is, and devil's advocate is that like, and so I'm working in data, working in government. We've been working there in a while. Is that like the collection of data is something that happens really on an automatic level. Okay, and so like you're right when you think about all of the different parameters, and you're saying, okay, like somebody's collecting voice data, you're right. Somebody's collecting location data, you're right. Somebody's collecting video data, probably. Okay, but what's happening is that all that data is getting stored in a server, and what people aren't doing are actively searching and querying that data. It doesn't like there's no AI bot that's like searching, for patterns not yet. Maybe the government is doing something like that with
I will.
Palantir, but like
Damn it, you
like,
beat me to it. I was
oh
gonna
no,
say
that's what it's
shout out
for, dude.
Palantir.
You know why I invested in Palantir, right? Because we went to I went to a what's it called, a defense, with Genesis, like a defense show, and they were there, and the guy like showed me everything they were doing, and I was like, "What are you guys on?" And they were like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm gonna buy that shit tomorrow." It
Yeah.
was like
I just
they're
my
nuts.
yeah, my whole thing is I just think um if there's a certain number of individuals in a room and they have access to that information, and somehow, some way that information gets leaked, there has to be an investigation, and they have to actually uphold things. They
Okay.
actually have to put people in jail. They have to actually have lose their clearance. Like I'm not one of these people where I see all these like ex directors and ex CIA members, and they still have high clearance. What is it? High security clearance to files and access to the buildings. I'm not one of those people. You're done with public service. You've decided to go into the private sector. You should not have access to those same files. You shouldn't be able to see certain files. You're fucking done.
Yeah, just kick them out. I mean, That would be,
Well,
sort of
if
like
if you
you
wanted to
lose
stay,
your
if you wanted
ability
to
to be
stay,
a public servant once you've
well, if you wanted to
like
stay in public service, then you wouldn't have left the public service and gone to private.
all
Simple as
right,
that.
and that's how Denny's makes cheeseburgers, guys.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. All right. Well, I don't even remember what I was going to say, but shall we move on, guys?
Yeah. Let's
So
go to
this
the
is
good feel good story.
this is a really good
Feel good story.
feel good
Yeah.
story. All right, guys, ready? Here we go. Our
That's
city's
not feel good.
creating psychopaths. This is my feel good story, bitches. All right, so
Oh, we're really going negative today.
no, this is interesting, and I came up with this topic because when Elvis and I were back in Virginia at my parents' place, I had read this book that was in my room, my old room, called I forget what it was called. It was called like Violence or
The
something.
Art
like
of
that.
Sex.
Yeah, yeah.
The
and
Joy
it
of
was,
Sex.
Yeah, by Cicella Bach, right? And so this doctor had put together like all of these different studies, and they were based on like society's exposure to violence just in media, right, in general. And so like I remember that book being like establishing like the bystander effect and all these different ways that like it was desensitizing people in general and behavior. And then like now they're doing recent studies that they're showing based on even more information that just living in a city and the necessities to survive in that city and to thrive, quote unquote, in those cities, right, are creating traits that are best served to sociopaths because of the necessary like ignorance or like deterrence or,
Yeah, you
or
have
barrier.
to reduce your empathy. Yeah.
Exactly, in order to achieve certain things that are just basic survival needs, right? It's sort of creating these, and there's a bunch of new studies that are out, and you should check them out. You just Google it, and basically they're saying there's like a really high probability of 30%. If you took a dummy population, like 100 people, like 30 of them would just by the time they lived in the city for 10 years have sociopathic like tendencies, like past. That's bad.
Well, I can tell you probably in New York it's a lot higher than that. Because everybody I know that like grew up in the city, it's probably more around like 60, 70.
Wow, that's great. Firsthand, yeah, I mean, that's insane. Like, can you imagine being surrounded by those people, Chris? Military.
Yeah, but
It's a rabbit hole. Another rabbit hole. Oh, so no, I was just looking at something today. It was sort of unrelated, but I guess makes sense. The guy was talking about how if under certain conditions in your childhood where you don't experience enough love, especially whatever. Basically, he was saying that like your brain stops being able to receive oxytocin appropriately because of the way that your childhood, so that you end up having a really difficult time receiving love as an adult, and it manifests itself as people that don't have a lot of emotion, right? Because high emotion is hard to regulate on your own without external help, assistance. And so you end up getting in relationships, you sort of get love, and then too much love makes you want to push away because you're a survivor, essentially, right? So I can see how an inability to process oxytocin and having sort of a robotic, a lack of emotional sort of attitude. Then you throw in the city aspect to that, and you have to reduce your empathy. If you live surrounded by millions of people, there's no way. If you're an empath surrounded by all those people, you would lose your mind, right? Because then you're basically feeling all of everyone's problem, right? And so your essentially receptors for that are going to get numbed, and so you're going to be sort of emotionally robotic and also less empathetic, which would make you seem pretty sociopathic or psychopathic to like the casual observer. So
yeah, but Chris, you also like I can tell you right now, you have to adapt to the environment in New York. There's a lot of people that come to New York that can't survive, and it's because we are literally dog eat dog.
Because you have to stop caring. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you have to have less. You just can't have empathy. Yeah,
you can't. So if like when you move here, you got to lose it. You got to understand the aggressive nature. You got like. There's a reason why people take the subways and act certain ways in the subways, on the buses, down, like, walking on the sidewalks, hanging out with a certain crowds, going to certain bars. What are you posting? What are you showing?
It said New York. I got some salami.
It said Italy, product of Italy on the top of it.
Same thing.
Oh, yeah, but I can see that. Now, it's different though. You can't just say cities, right? Because New York's different is a different city. Miami, I actually think has a kind of a similar resemblance to New York in a lot of aspects. I've I've been to LA too many times. I'm sorry. Outside of the Hollywood area and Silicon Valley, the cities in like California, I think I don't see the same like kind of uh eat like
It's just
aggressive
different.
nature. Just
Yeah,
different. It
yeah.
might be different in
It's the
certain
same.
aspects.
It's
It's
like
just not. Yeah.
it's like a so people don't realize that they think California is sort of like, like this flat green fucking city. I'm sorry, state, right? It's just a beautiful flat green. And the thing is that it's a desert. It's super high, most of it, until you go up to the very north, and then most of the cities are like tucked up against the coasts because there has to be a drop, right, in the elevation to reach the coast. And so all of it, and so like if you're interested in coastal living, if that's what you would like living that coastal life where you're like seeing the ocean most of the time in your day, like California, that's like a collection of these like coastal living communities for sure. But to be like anything else, or to be like, there's really no room, for a city besides Los Angeles, which is huge, but it's so spread out, right? And it's not really anywhere near the fucking water, right? So
Yeah, but my point is though is like New York, like the one thing about it is every industry they're extremely aggressive because you're on top of each other. In California, I feel like, and I've had run-ins with like the movie entertainment industry, it's very cutthroat and it's similar to New York. Whereas also the tech community up in Northern California is very similar and has the very same mindset. But outside of those two, which are very unique industries in the city, I haven't felt that same way. And they're also spread out.
So,
when you
to your point, Mike, I think New York City obviously is a pretty large capacity of people in a very small
Small
area.
area. Yeah.
LA obviously has more people. It's definitely more spread out.
Yeah.
The same, the same thing that we're discussing though with psychopathic, personality types live in the environments where you have to, work to survive, work extra to survive, right? So like the whole my time is money thing, get out of my way. Like you literally have to you have to make space for yourself to succeed. And if somebody's in the way, that's not acceptable. I think that the philosophy is slightly different on the West Coast for a variety of reasons. One of those reasons, though, is that there's a ton more government intervention, and so there's a lifestyle that's different. So in New York City, you can't. So in California, I know people that do this, right? You work minimum wage. You have a two person household. Both of you work minimum wage, so you basically live under a certain salary cap, and then you get massive tax credits as a result.
free healthcare, free dental,
Right. And so
probably
then
some assistance too.
You essentially can live
your electric
in
bill?
California, only working minimum wage, only working part time, right? So you don't work full time job, but because you get so many government subsidies, you get to live on the beach, and so then you don't live a dog eat dog world because
Yeah, that's a good point.
you're just sort of, I want to go catch some surf and like catch some rays, man, right? And that's sort of the attitude.
I want to
Now there
go
are pockets
safe.
of those in the financial districts in LA and like Hollywood, of course, right? And then obviously in New York City, but like a lot of California is just living off the government, so they get to live in the sun
Very good point.
and
I,
be in
I,
the
I,
100%.
ocean.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, very good point.
very
I
good
will
point.
say though, not in California, but I would say in general, like a lot of cities, it's a different mindset. As much as I make fun of California in a lot of areas, because I do, I think it's a shit state in so many areas.
Well,
Um, but there are industries and there's similarities to, the way that New York operates. Like if you look at Silicon Valley and all those tech companies up in Northern California, they have a dog eat dog. Like the finance industry in New York, those bankers will bankrupt the world for their own pockets the same way the tech companies will destroy the world to make sure they have all your data and all the money. So there are similarities.
gay boy.
It's just, huh?
Nothing.
Yeah,
I have no idea what he said.
I have no idea either. Okay,
I was
Chichichan.
yawning.
Well,
Um,
I think the point with like New York City, and this to my mind, L.A. was sort of the same way a while, at some point,
it
where
was.
the objective is you work really hard in your 20s and early 30s in order to be able to afford to go to the Hamptons,
Yeah.
right? Or to be able to afford to
Yeah.
go to Malibu or whatever, right? And so, and obviously that involves either doing really well in whatever corporate world that you operate in, or obviously, movies or, hitting it
Mm,
big, right? I think now that that period of time is extended so much where like 10 years isn't enough anymore. It's now like 20 years.
mm-hmm.
Or I think also like purpose has changed too, where like a lot less people have purpose in their relationships, so they only have purpose in their job, and so they just work. That they don't, if they stopped working, they would die basically, because
No, I
that's the
agree.
only way. So I
I
think we're
just,
seeing a lot more of those people in that world.
well,
I
yeah,
feel
it's
like
pretty interesting. It's, oh, go ahead, Ricardo. I'm sorry.
yeah, I feel like and so like a good like comparison at least from living on both coasts is that it seems that people on the East Coast and who live in these sort of metropolis cities that actually like have real jobs, you know what I'm saying, like really produce things. There is sort of like an air where like everybody's working towards something better. Okay. And like, so it's like, hey, we're going to work. So like people get up in New York, not to just like be like, man, I don't want to stay here. They're like, get up like, man, I got to do a little better than I did yesterday so that, someday I can get that, nice little condo that I want and I don't have to sleep in the kitchen or whatever the fuck they're doing. And people in California, the state of mind is that they want to prolong to the today as long as they possibly can. Right. And so that's like something where it's like people in California are like, oh, no. This is cool. Like, I'm good with this. I just want this to not stop. And so that's the difference, I think, one of the big differences in the perspective that makes the energy very different in both cities. Neither one is one or the other, but they are kind of polar opposites in that way. Where like people in the city, in New York, in Philadelphia, in those like metropolises,
Philly's another thing.
yeah, they're kind of
Philly's
work.
another thing. They're psychopaths.
Yeah, they're kind
And
of
they're
they're
not
yeah.
psychopaths because of the
But
economic growth in the city.
nobody's
They're psychopaths
satisfied
because
though.
of their
There's no,
sports.
right, and so the that's the positive energy, and so the negative energy that kind of keeps everybody moving is that ultimately, like in those cities, there's an air that nobody's satisfied with whatever they're doing. It doesn't matter if they have $1 billion or not. It's just like, hey, we're not satisfied. What can we do next? And so
Yeah,
that
but it's
kind of
like,
drives it.
yeah, but it's kind of funny though. They're psychopaths, but like I'm gonna tell you straight up, most of the finance guys are, and like it's pretty comical in New York because everybody thinks finance people are like sharks. They're not sharks. They're sharks behind like the screen, pressing a button and liquidating or taking risks. But if you saw them in the street, you beat the shit out of half of them because they're a bunch of they're a bunch of punks.
Little
You
Freudian
know,
slip.
huh?
Little Freudian slip there.
Yeah. So my whole point though is you definitely get psychopaths in your environments depending on what you're doing. Just cities have different they have different cultures. They have different like
Would
vibes
you
to them.
say
So
that
that's
cities have different dating styles? Like all signs to
yes,
point to
they
bettering
do.
yourself in modern dating?
Dallas, Texas, you girls come up to you. Miami, half the girls don't even speak English, so you can't go up to them and they can't come up to you unless you showcase your car. Um, California is the same thing. If you don't have fillers, if you don't have fake boobs, and you don't have Botox or and BBLs, you gotta have all the money in the world. Anyways, what was it? What were you saying again?
So yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff about like from the behavioral all and this is I guess this is a little bit more so for like the bros out there and everyone else too and the girls who are dating, I guess, right? And so like there's a lot of data behaviorally. There's some new studies that have been coming out which are a little bit interesting, and this is a very general statement about bettering yourself in modern dating. It's most of the time we spend, and so some of the studies were showing that people spend a lot of their energy in the actual search, right? Either spending it on apps or trying to figure out where people would be or trying to meet people, right, in general. And so that kind of energy actually and activity has been shown to actually not produce really good results, okay? And so, like, what this is really saying is that if you can shift that energy, or at least the amount of activity that you're doing, to ones where you're actually bettering yourself. And this includes like exercise. This includes like doing things like, things that you enjoy, like hobbies, getting better at those hobbies, improving, going out and having, more conversations with people that you already know, those types of things. And so those types of things actually have been shown to lead to almost 60% better matches than if you go out for people who are like quote unquote actively looking, right? And so those people, and so that's some good data. And so basically the more that you're, kind of in your element, and the more that you're actually pursuing something that you're interested in, the less there's less of a tense sort of like anxiousness to mate with someone, because that person's already in that experience with you. So there's some really good data coming out because of this. And one of the craziest things was the exercise one. And so one of these senses that women have when they pick mates, it's olfactory. Like, so the women have great sense of olfactory, and specifically women can smell symmetry on a man, like on a man's sweat on their t-shirt. They can tell how symmetrical they are, and that's one of the things they use as mating criteria. And so they did this test where they had these guys, and then they smelled them, and they rated the symmetry, right? And then they went out and some of these guys did the activities that they were supposed to, like exercising, all that stuff, the hobbies. And then so the women actually found those men to smell more attractive and to perceive them as more symmetrical after 2 weeks of doing those activities. So like there's some cool little mating, data in there too as well. So, don't chase, and try to work on things that you enjoy, and actually, your body and the whole nature will come in and help you out. What do you guys think about this?
They did that same study when they were checking immune systems. So that they thought that let's say, I think there's five. Let's just say five. There's five. So like A, B, C, D, E. So like if somebody has a low deficiency in like B, as an example, their theory was that somebody with a low deficiency in B would not be attracted to somebody with a low deficiency in B as well. They would be attracted to somebody with higher B. And it worked almost every time except when they're on birth control. So women on birth control throws all of that shit out the window. So
birth control is really bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to say don't use it, but like this, like it's not good. It kind of changes girls' like all chemistry. So I mean, condoms are or just I don't know.
Can I say my piece for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Get the fuck out of here with all
No.
these fucking stupid studies about your scent and your vitamin B level and your vitamin A level. Like, get the fuck out of here. When we grew up, like, our parents grew up and they met somebody, it was a different world. People would go up to each other. They talk to each other. They didn't have studies to find out, oh, if your right finger, your index finger was a quarter-inch bigger, a girl would like you. Or your fucking finger was it was fucking a pound fatter, she wouldn't like you. No, I'm sorry with these stupid studies. How about this? Grow a sack, go talk to people, get out, get off the apps. If you're having a tough time finding a woman, okay, I'll give you one advice. Find all the divorced ones that have kids. They already got it out of the system. They just want to have a lot of fun, okay? All right? But the reality of the situation is
I can from experience say that's completely true.
Yeah, but my thing is we put so much into these studies, right? And there's so many of these studies that coming out now. It's like you're questioning every little thing, who you are, changing yourself, reacting like, okay, I got to change this about myself. I got to do this. I got to do this. No, stay healthy. Personally, I'm not an app person. I hate apps. I don't think they're helpful because apps make you think you have more options than you do.
I agree. And Mike, can your girlfriend vouch for this?
Actually, she could. She could, because I don't need apps. I can tell you, my girl could have vouched for this.
Is that past tense or?
Yeah,
I think that's my present tense. My girlfriend can vouch for this.
I haven't
talked to you guys.
No, I'm just
haven't talked to you guys about her, but she can.
She better not be from Staten Island.
Wow, low blow.
I'm not dealing with that shit again, dog. Let me tell you.
Wow, low blow.
And then, I mean, if you're from Staten Island and you hear this, I mean, I don't know, clean your shit up, whatever.
So what I was going to say, Ricardo, you mentioned something earlier, and I feel like part of the problem with that, making yourself better, there's a couple things. One, back in the day, to Mike's point, a lot of the more successful relationship finding was being introduced by other people, because there's more incentive for the relationship to work because there's more people involved, right? So like if somebody like a friend of a friend introduces you, then your social circle sort of puts pressure on the relationship to succeed, or at least to be cordial, right?
And I think
When you
that
meet like on dating apps, there's no external pressure from each individual group. You actually have to force your groups to meld together, and sometimes that actually is worse for the relationship. But I think also the problem with this whole thing is like you want to, the idea being like, oh well, as soon as you stop looking you find whatever, right? Well, so bettering yourself 100%. But I think part of the problem is it's hard. We're human beings, right? So you have to find the motivation. And so a lot of times the motivation is to find a partner. And so that's why you're working out or why you're doing whatever it is. And I think we've talked about this a little bit, right? It's the whole journey, not the destination thing. I know it's so cliche, but essentially at some point you have to find a way to motivate yourself to better yourself for the experience of doing it, for the longevity, for the health, for whatever it is, not because you want to find somebody. And as soon as you can do that, which I have not mastered, as soon as you can figure that out, I think that's when you start to unlock sort of that whole thing I think that Ricardo's entire topic is pointing to.
a little bit, yeah. I also wanted to point out too that like it's not just the external pressure of being introduced. I think there's also the fact that when you're introduced by somebody that you trust, that there's already a level of sort of like vetting that's kind of gone through. So you're a little bit more inclined to be vulnerable and open with that person. In addition to, I think Chris is totally right. Social pressure is like the number one, what do you call it? Like in the behavioral science world, it's like the machine gun. It's like the motherfucking atom bomb. Like you want to change behavior, social pressure instantly.
Well, I mean, like if you're friends of friends or whatever, right? And then you hang out, you can't be like, oh, I broke up because their socks are pink. Well, right? You're gonna get ostracized
Chris,
from the group.
I literally think you use that excuse with at least one of the girls that I think you've gone out with. I mean,
well, you know what I mean? Like,
I think you're just a pot calling the kettle black with that one, buddy. Too. I mean, I think you just.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
I know
you can't come to the group and be like, oh well, her left toe is too long, so it's not going to work out.
I've done that before.
You're just
but you know what I'm saying, right? But like,
I would stop right there because
it's a lot easier to come up with a stupid reason to break up with someone when there's no external pressure from the social groups, as opposed to when you have pressure from the social groups because like, oh, they're a good match and you get together, then it's like, well, yeah, I mean, whatever, you have to come up with like legitimate, like, oh, we're just not compatible or whatever reasons that make sense, as opposed to just like,
dude, if she made chicken parm and she used penny,
yeah, right,
that's
exactly,
grounds for breakup.
Right, exactly.
That's grounds for breakup.
I mean, I'll try it first if it's good. You know what I'm saying? I agree, totally. But yeah, I know that's all good things, and then good luck with everybody. Of course, the dating pool is getting a lot, like Chris and Mike were saying, like, you know, people not interacting, you know, and then, from a nonverbal cue point of view, they're like, imagine, if I went outside with sunglasses, headphones, a dog, and a phone in my hand. And you were looking for help. Like, would you approach me? Like, probably not. Probably, because it's not open. So when you're going out and that's how you're expecting to get attention, or some sort of conversation, think about that, right? So like anybody who's got like, the headphones, hat, and sunglasses with the dog is just not, that person's saying that they don't want anybody to talk to them. So
I agree.
So watch the nonverbal cues too, and guys do this shit too. Yeah, guys.
My topic kind of melds into this a little bit. If you
go for it. Yeah, I don't know if I have it up, man. What is it?
Post-nut clarity. You don't have one for that?
Hold on a second.
Okay, that's all we had, guys, for the day. It was very nice to speak with you.
So, Diary of a CEO had a conversation with one of the doctors about post-nut clarity, and I thought it was obviously fascinating. I think we've all experienced this, and the example that he was using was like, it was like 2:30 in the morning. It was like 2:30 in the morning, and I was seriously considering driving like an hour to go hook up with this chick that I didn't really care about, and then I decided to jerk off, and I was like, why the fuck would I do that, right? That's his story. And I think
I'm
we've
sorry.
all done that, right? We've all been like, yeah, I'm going to go do this an hour and a half drive to, bang some ugly chick that we don't give a shit about. And then we're like,
Not
what?
not
I
a
don't
ugly.
care. And then we jerk
What
off.
about
Not
taking
a
the fat girl home
no
after at the
no
late night at the
not
bar?
enough.
That's not my
I've
term.
did I definitely have a pre-nut driving an hour and a half for no reason while I'm like what already was in bed, and then got my car impounded. And
Yeah, when you're at the end of the bar and you're like, damn, and there's only one girl left in the bar and she's a big girl, and you're like, damn, I gotta
Well,
take her
so
home.
so
big girls need love too.
he was talking about how the chemistry in the brain sort of hijacks you a little bit, where like if you're horny enough, then you choose to make these sort of irrational decisions that your prefrontal cortex doesn't really quite understand once you get rid of some of the chemicals in the brain.
Weren't you saying too that like your threshold for disgust goes,
Well, that's the other so there's
goes
another
up to when
study
you're
from
horny,
in 2011 that basically took people that were sexually aroused and not sexually aroused and showed them images of things that would we would think were gross, and essentially when you're sexually aroused you saw these images as being less gross, right? And so it's sort of like the body chemically sort of encouraging you to procreate.
do weird
so
shit.
Well, he was talking about how you have to find a way to regulate it on your own, which I don't really agree with. I think that it's very difficult. But the entire purpose of why I wanted to talk about this was Ricardo and I have talked about this ad nauseum before, where I think that this stems to porn, right? So when you're watching porn and jerking off, you're not motivated to make poor decisions. And I'm obviously being cheeky,
No,
but
I think
I'm being
motivated
cheeky.
more to make poor decisions.
No. So what the problem is basically everything that I just said, right? If you're watching porn and jerking off, you're not gonna go drive 2 hours to go get laid, right? You're not gonna. This is what you're not gonna do. You're not gonna go to the bar and hit on some girl.
I think
I think it
those
also
are
could be.
actually
I think it could be also the other way, because if you do get the opportunity to go meet a girl that's an hour away, that's a fake profile and actually a man on Bumble, you will drive out there.
right. I was
Because
gonna
you
vote
don't
for
have that
do
opportunity.
stupid like if you're like, hey, this is a dumb decision to text this girl or watch porn. I would rather you text that girl and make that dumb decision and make something stupid happen in real life.
Right,
Right.
and that's kind of my
very-
point.
Because
That's a very
porn
good
is
thing.
just
So
kind of
you're
it's fun, dude. But it's
influencing
just tricking your
people.
brain, dude. It's just like
I agree. You're influenced, and everybody. We're not saying sending unsolicited pictures here, okay?
I didn't say
Well,
pictures.
my
You
point
sent
being,
pictures. I said
we've
text
sort of
message.
talked about this whole thing where not enough people are
Weirdo.
going out in person and meeting people, and I think that's a variable, right? I think it's a variable where like if you're horny and you're more likely to go out and try to hit on some girl than if you just watch porn and jerked off. That's what I'm saying,
Great.
right? You're not gonna go, like you're just less motivated to go to the bar and hit on some girl
yeah.
because I can just go whatever jerk off, right? And so
Guys,
I think it's just one variable to this whole conversation where it's like that needs to happen less. If you want to have the courage to go and talk to some random chick at the bar or a random chick out in whatever to find intimacy in real life, then you gotta stop watching porn and jerking off. Basically,
Hey,
that's my point.
Chris, I just want to say I really can't contribute to this conversation anymore because this is against my religion.
Do I have a
just realized
girlfriend? I have a girlfriend. I don't watch
It's against
porn.
my religion.
I'll just
I'm
check
a
out.
virgin. I'm a virgin still. I have, if you can tell, I have a cross on my chest. I can't discuss these things.
You don't have.
I'm gonna I actually need to go speak to my priest and go to confession now.
Just because one of the ushers at the
frickin'
movie
time.
theater knows your name doesn't mean she's your girlfriend.
Wow, that's rude, Ricardo.
No, I mean I see what you're saying. I think like I agree. And Peterson has some shit too. He talks a little bit about motivation and like how like it doesn't motivate. And like my point is, I mean it's a lot of fun, but like let's just say that this thing is a simulation, right? It's a physical simulation, right? And there's something cool and mysterious about all of us. We'll call it a soul or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And so we're in this, we're rendering and we're in this physical simulation, right? And then within that simulation, right, you want to do something that brings you pleasure, right? But instead you watch a simulation of that thing in a simulation already, And so like you're really dumbing it down, right? And so that's kind of the way I see it. I'd rather just like try to make something happen in reality, regardless, because that's already the simulation, right? So like that
Yeah.
and if you connect with somebody and it's really spiritual, then you're kind of doing some real shit. But that doesn't always happen, and sex is fun, and you should do it safely if you like it.
I think it's just different for a guy, and Chris, I agree with you. It's like most of the time when, actually, I've never done it
Now
because
you agree with me.
I'm very religious,
Oh
so I've
yeah,
never
sure.
done any of these things. I think though, like after whatever happens, and you think about it after, like, because you have that moment of reflection, like the clarity, where you're like, "What the fuck did I just do?" Like you start looking around, you're like, "Now I gotta drive back home. Now I gotta, what the fuck was I
I gotta
texting?
find my pants.
No,
I
dude,
got I
I call
gotta
it
find.
it's
Hold on,
the
let me get the cotton and
relationship.
put some water through it to make
It's the
sure there's no
I'm gonna go
holes.
to hell for this, but it's the relationship test, right? If like you're banging a girl and you nut, and then you're like and then you look over and you're like, damn, I can't wait to bang that chick again. That's your girlfriend. If you bang
That's
a
a good
girl
point.
and you nut and you look over and you're like, where the fuck are my pants? That's not
And
your
then you
girlfriend.
realize she
Yeah,
comes out of the
that's
kitchen with
not
a
your
knife, and
girlfriend. Yeah,
then she comes
exactly.
out of the kitchen with a knife instead of food. You're like, shit,
One
I gotta
hundred
jump off
percent.
this balcony.
It's that easy. I'm telling you. That's it.
Well,
It's
so
that
I'm
easy.
saying,
Doesn't
I
mean
was
you
thinking
can't
about
have a
that.
relationship with that person or whatever, but
Right. Yeah.
you're
I was
that
thinking
person
that.
has not captured your heart. Yeah.
I was thinking
Ricardo,
something
you
on the
gotta
same
stop.
lines.
Ricardo, you gotta stop referring with Chris about females. We all know Chris likes males, so
Oh,
you can't keep referring
right.
about that way.
I was thinking about the same thing, Ricardo. It's like if you look at her and you're like, if she initiated, I would, but if she doesn't, I'm not going to. Then that's the problem. Yeah. You gotta find another girl.
Oh, 100%,
If
100%.
if you're
100%.
looking at her and you're like,
Because
yeah,
there's
if she
tons
came
of
over here, I would, but otherwise, then
Totally.
No,
yeah.
the
Oh,
next test
totally.
is when you get home and you're like, okay, you get that text message. She's like, hey, you want to go out for dinner or you want to go grab drinks this week? And you're like, nah, I don't want to do that.
Right. Right. Definitely. Well, now we have a bulletproof system for everybody to get to find their mate, guys. Just do the dumb shit we just said, and
I actually want to hear the females. I want to actually hear the females version of this on their side.
So there's interesting, right? And so like I had dated this beautiful girl, and
Like one time.
Oh, here we
just
go.
one time.
Here we
Just
go.
one time.
She's
And
so beautiful. She was a model.
what?
She
What?
was a
What?
model.
No. This is interesting. This has to do with what we're talking
Cunningham
about.
style.
No. And so what I noticed is that we dated for a number of years, and like so at the beginning of the period, she when we would make love, I noticed that when we didn't have sex for a couple of days, she would get a little anxious, right? And like she calmed down afterwards, and so I was like, okay, cool. Like I feel like girls feel sort of the same way that guys do, right? And then after a while, I think she started doing yoga and stuff. And honestly, like I think she started masturbating, right?
But you're not
And, like,
satisfying her.
right. And so I think then that made it so that like there was a lot difference, like a difference in the sex. It was still really good, but I could tell that she wasn't getting as tense, right? And she was able to enjoy the sex and be a little bit more present and not see it so much as like a need, right? And so like that was interesting. So I think there was like maybe two types of ways for females that I've experienced is like girls that I think don't masturbate, I think really probably enjoy and feel the need to go and look for and have sex much more, and the ones that do probably feel like they're a little bit more in control of their mating activities.
Well, Ricardo, was that at the beginning of the relationship or was that
Yeah.
throughout the relationship? Because I
It
was
was
going to
like
say at the beginning of the relationship, you're still getting used to each other. Like,
no, it
you're
happened
getting-
like after like a year and a half of dating. It was noticeable. I was like, oh shit, it was interesting.
So for a year and a half, she was able to deal with your micro penis.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Well, I stuck my hand in there
I got
too.
a little smile out of
Exactly.
Chris on that one. I got a little smile out of Chris on that one.
Yeah, I'll put my hand
Well-
in there too. It helped.
I mean, it's hard to like comment on this one because I'm not trying to like really dive into Ricardo's sex life, but yeah,
Oh, please do. I
I
wanna
definitely
hear some
feel. No, I definitely feel like there's definitely a difference between girls that enjoy, like, actually get off from sex and don't get off from sex. Those are two different experiences.
There you
right?
go.
So right, so, and I definitely noticed that what tends to happen with girls that, and if you talk to girls about this, you can confirm, is that girls that get off more regularly during sex have much more difficult time because they get oxytocin from sex, so they end up falling in love harder when they have good sex than when girls that don't. And so if you ever find yourself with a girl that feels a little
No.
cold, then that could be part of it. But
dude,
also girls get off more on the being desired than they do. I mean, obviously they need to get off
Chase?
just like everybody else. No. So like that's part of the problem. That's part of the reason why they don't want to initiate sex, is because they don't feel like they're being desired by you. They want you to initiate sex because that means that you find them sexy.
We got to get a couple of women on here. We got to hear their. We got to hear them. I just want to say one thing. My philosophy has always been the same throughout all these years. I can't say this.
As long as you get off, then
I've
you're
heard
good.
this. Yeah. Yeah, once you get off,
I got mine.
I got mine.
Yeah. No, I'm much more intellectual. I need intellectual stimulation. So like I've had long conversations and
while having sex.
Well, like
what you
so.
talk about books.
So like
Boring.
my ex and I,
boring each other to death.
My ex and I would communicate while I was deployed.
Helicopter
So
engine.
like we had
It's so powerful.
we wrote entire like smut novels via email over like 6 months of deployment. So I got
Let me ask you a
unique
question. When you're having
perspective of the psyche.
Let me ask you a question. When you're having sex with your ex, were you talking about helicopter engines and the power and the drivetrain and all that for you to get off? Were you just like, oh, the horsepower on this engine is so strong?
No, I think
the propellers.
I think what he was doing, he's like, I'm gonna hurt you so bad, you're gonna get full medical benefits. Yeah.
That's funny.
That was a good one, right?
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Oh, you know what I wanted to say earlier, man? I completely forgot.
No, nobody wants to hear you.
Yeah, you're gonna hear it anyways. When we were talking about the people whose brain literally like has been accustomed to not being able to receive love, and so they're doing tests now, and I have no idea how the results are, but they're combining ketamine with oxytocin, and so dosing people with that and oxytocin to help, because I guess it has some neurogenerative purposes to help rebuild some of those cells and synapses and to see how it works. So that's an interesting sort of like, way to treat something that was environmentally caused, right?
Yeah, so that one discussion they were talking about was that when the idea that women's love is healing, right? That whole concept. It's because on some level, if you can connect with your significant other, in this case for us to be women, and receive the oxytocin from that connection, then the body produces a whole bunch of chemicals to help with healing, right? So HGH goes up, testosterone goes up, all the kind of things.
Cool.
That would, be associated with recovery. And so like literally, if you can connect, then there is healing effects essentially.
You know what I also agree is after you have sex, you get a nice sandwich afterwards in bed. That helps you. There's a good connection there afterwards too.
Mike's mom, what did you do? How did this happen? What did you?
Yeah, his mom's watching this show right now.
Yeah, how did you? You created a monster.
I'm gonna tell my mom to not watch the last half an hour.
Yeah.
My mom can create a monster. You gotta remember, dude. I'm a virgin still. I've never had sex.
Yeah.
I don't know what that feels like.
Mike,
I've never had sex.
I don't know what it feels like to live the lie that you live.
He's a lawyer. He lies all the time. So you gotta tell the truth anymore.
That's why you said before. That's why
the backpack of guilt and bullshit that you must carry around.
Hey guys, okay. I have to
brings
go
a whole
to
new meaning to luggage. That's some emotional baggage, man.
Yeah.
I don't have any emotional baggage. I'm solid. All right.
Yeah.
I'm rock solid.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll leave that in me. Shit turns purple and smells like
Wait,
rainbow
so
sherbet.
are you guys gonna do Almost Athletes next week?
I think
next
we are,
week?
right? Yeah, I think we are. We got a lot of things to talk about. Somebody threw a dildo on the. Did you see that? The green dildo.
No, where?
So in a WNBA game, some fan threw a green dildo on the course.
Nice.
Literally, yeah.
It's
a court. I know you've played a lot of golf lately.
I said court. I said court. It's just my accent.
Sure.
You don't understand
I
that.
feel like we should have predicted that. like there's a bunch of girls playing basketball. Like, how long is it going to take for some joker?
So if somebody
to
gets a
throw-
hat trick in WNBA or whatever, do you throw a bunch of dildos on the court? Is that
I think
the?
Dude,
the
that'd
new
be
trend is forming.
hilarious.
What
That'd
if,
be
Start
what
that
if the
trend.
ratings
We should
go
start
up?
that
Yeah.
trend.
We
We should go to a
and then get
WNBA game
banned.
and just hand out dildos
That sounds
to throw out
like they'd
when
find a way
somebody
to
hits a
charge us
three-pointer.
with
or
terrorism
something.
or something. They'd find a way.
I'm
They'd find a
dying.
way to get us.
We get banned from every sporting event in the world.
Absolutely.
No, but I definitely think, Chris, are you free next Wednesday to do this?
What, the
man.
dildo thing?
Yeah.
You guys gonna do the dildo thing?
Yeah, we're gonna take cameras inside this the arena, and then we're gonna show how to get kicked out.
Chris, you know where
think-
Caitlin? Does she live in your neighborhood? Caitlin
I
Clark?
think we gotta get monetized before spend that kind of
Yeah, I
money.
was just gonna say, we're gonna have some fines. I can represent us in court. Your Honor, it wasn't.
Well, we
us.
need you to get our freaking LLC bullshit. When's our
Yeah, you
incorporation?
suck as a lawyer. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, that was rude. Why don't you go smoke some
deal.
more?
So next week, I'm smoking right now. So next week, you guys are gonna
We
do almost athletes. What day is
Yep.
that gonna be?
Wednesday.
Do Wednesday, yeah.
What time?
Yeah, we'll do Wednesday. I just told you Wednesday. It's usually the same time we do right now, 7:00.
7 p.m.
Okay,
Eastern
just for the
Eastern-
viewers, Mike. Just for
Eastern.
the viewers.
Hey, everybody! Please tune in next
God,
Wednesday
you lead a
at
horse
7
to
p.m.
water, bro.
Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for our Almost Athletes. Okay, spin-off show with Christopher and myself, and we talk about all sports-related issues. And we will be talking during that episode. We're going to continue our conversation about post-nut clarity.
We're definitely going to talk about how Mike's virginity helped him in sports. I definitely want to hear that. Yeah.
I'll give you some good. I have some. I'm not going to talk about some of the locker room stories, but I'll give you some good ones.
Yeah, how do
No
you have
names.
lockers? You're a virgin. You don't know what to talk about in a locker room.
No,
No,
not me. I'm talking about everybody else. I'm talking
I
about
was-
everybody else on my teams.
I was wondering why you had all those weird shaped soaps in your shower. I was like,
Bro.
how does he clean? What does he clean?
He doesn't know how to use his
Bro.
3 seashells. He doesn't know how to use 3 seashells.
Oh yeah, you're right. I don't. I haven't learned that sequence yet. You know.
Great
But
fucking
yeah,
movie.
tune in.
Great fucking
Great movie.
movie.
Great movie. But yeah, tune in next Wednesday for the Almost Athletes, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We're going to talk all about sports related stuff. We have taken a break, so we're going to catch up. Might be a little bit longer than usual because we'll talk about some more topics.
Perfect. That's awesome,
And
guys.
then-
And as usual,
As usual.
every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Eastern, catch Almost Patriots, the podcast here.
Where the chief, myself, the virgin, and the crazy person talk about random shit.
Yep, pretty much. We just talked about random stuff.
We need to
Pretty good
do
at
the baby thing. If we could do like the baby AI thing, that would be
Oh my
gangster. Yeah, like it was
No.
just like all babies but with the voices.
I'm not doing
that'd be
that.
great.
That would actually be pretty funny. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
maybe
lie.
just like one episode do the baby AI thing. We talk about some random shit. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. Check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Catch us next Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Almost Patriots podcast. As always, got Elvis in Indianapolis, Mike in New York, and myself
Love
here
you,
in San
Sophie
Diego.
Cunningham.
See ya. Peace.